Want to bet?
Yep.
Then get into the action at Sports Interaction. Whatever your sport, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, in-game, or on one of the many unique prop bets. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Thank you. Or in Ontario, download the app now using our QR code at the bottom of the screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly.
I'm excited for the day that we move away from Tavares on the wing, because my whole thing with the trade is that you get the three-headed monster back. Like, we're back to the original dream of this team, which was Matthews, Tavares, and Kadri. And now we get Matthews, Tavares, and Ryan O'Reilly. And I think that'll be crazy in the playoffs. And then when Keith wants to throw Ryan O'Reilly up on the wing, because I think he should be the winger and Tavares can handle the center spot, that's also a death lineup with that top six. It's a very deep core now. And like Steve said, you can always add to it. You can always move Kerfoot or something and get some bodies in and bodies out off of the active roster. But they gave up nothing out of that forward group or the defense to get this core now. And it's spectacular move
and
by Dubas.
I have to say, with Noel Acciari on that bottom six, that fourth line was buzzing. Well, it's a great fourth line.
So I know a lot of people want to kick Kerfoot out the door, and if you can upgrade your forward group, I think you do it. But him as a fourth line winger with Acciari is a hell of a luxury.
It's a noticeable skill difference.
Oh my God.
It's like when
he doesn't belong there.
When the Leafs made the playoffs randomly in 2013 and they rolled out, I'll never forget it. It'd be like the first line was okay, second line was okay, but then their third line was Kadri and Lupul. And they were rolling that year, and they were a skill mismatch to anybody that played against them.
What was the fourth line?
It was probably pretty bad. It was Fraser, McLaren, and
McClement, McLaren, or something. Komarov, maybe
10 career goals between them. I think I think there's I agree with you. I want to see O'Reilly on the third line as well, because I think there's some pretty good pieces for him to play with. But also, when you bring a center to a new team, you could see things like timing being off. And there was times where he got involved with plays that maybe he shouldn't have or whatever, because he's learning. And I just felt like putting him right at center, I'm sure they did it to say, we want you to be comfortable here. But he's coming off the second and third night of hockey in a row.
Yeah.
And he's playing center. Put him on the wing.
I'm not sure I even expect them to be like fully great tonight against Buffalo. Like I don't want
probably not.
I don't want to make excuses early on.
Yeah, three games in 4 nights is not easy.
They're starting to recover, starting to get there.
And speaking of Buffalo, with the trade, I remembered, like I had forgot that he's still on the contract that he signed with Buffalo. This giant contract is the Buffalo contract. The 7.5 he signed. Tim Murray signed him 7 years ago. That's the contract Ryan O'Reilly is currently on, and it's going to expire this season. So yeah, it's quite a journey for him.
The craziest news I heard was was that Colorado was apparently interested.
Oh, bringing him back?
Like, yeah, and I was like, really? I mean, I guess after 7 years, it doesn't matter anymore.
There's a big, well, apart from all the injuries they've had, there's a big hole on their roster up the middle. I mean, you lose Kadri, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Now, the word on the street is the Leafs did check in on Timo Meier, and that they felt the asking price was just too high. And Elliot Friedman did say that they got 2 players for less than it would have cost them for one Timo Meier, which tells me that is a sky-high asking price, and there's enough people involved or enough teams currently involved that San Jose can ask it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I were San Jose, I don't think St. Louis is upset with the return they got for a guy who's expiring. But if I was San Jose, I'd probably want more for Timo Meier, at least intangible assets, outside of just draft picks.
Guys, this is why you listen to this show. This is why I am a student of Kyle Dubas.
Okay.
I have a doctorate. What did I tell you?
PhD.
One-stop shop.
Mm-hmm.
He did it. And he traded with his most common trading partner in the St. Louis Blues. Dubas isn't a hard guy to figure out. Like, he's seeding all these rumors in the media, and he's trying to...
He doesn't actually do that.
Misinformation. Maybe he does.
Well, no, Friedge said, he said there's 2 GMs, I have no idea what they're doing, Yzerman or Dubas. I have no idea what their plan is.
Is that what he said?
He said that, yeah.
But I do. I know exactly what he's doing. The same thing he always does.
Trades that first for 2 seconds.
Yeah, at the deadline, he does one-stop shopping. Trades with his most common... Doug Armstrong. Like, it's amazing how useful that one piece of information from Agent Provocateur was. Like, the GMs speak to like 6 people. Dubas speaks to like 6 guys. It's hilarious. And one of them is Doug Armstrong. And we know that for sure because it's his most common trading partner.
I also thought it was nice, though, that Doug Armstrong did Ryan O'Reilly a solid because he said, do you want to get moved?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, where do you want to go? And
that's important.
And,
it's your captain.
And then basically you go to the Leafs and go, this is where he wants to go. Can we work it out? And they did.
Yep.
I think that's cool. And as a Toronto fan, I mean, you do get a little excited when a local guy wants to come back and play here.
Clinton, Ontario, which is way out.
I have no idea where.
Grew up a Leafs fan.
It's you got to drive like an hour past Kitchener.
Which way?
You keep going northwest.
Wow. Okay.
I believe you.
There you go.
Clinton, Ontario.
I think a lot of people though are now asking, what do you do next if you're the Leafs? Because I don't believe that they're done. And I don't think a lot of people believe that they're totally done.
There it is. Jesse's got it on a map. Thank you for that. Like, what town does it even claim? Sorry, Adam asked a perfectly legitimate question.
I'm focused on Clinton, Ontario.
Let's look at the map. No one can see.
It's in the
great idea.
I can put it on the screen if we want to dissect where Clinton, Ontario is.
Oh, Exeter. I've heard of Exeter.
Yeah, it's
Goderich.
Yeah, Goderich.
Goderich
is right on the water.
So let's say it claims Goderich. Holy mackerel!
It's in the municipality of Central Huron.
You're lying.
That's what Wikipedia says.
All right, Adam, what's your stupid friggin' question?
What's next?
Well, it's interesting, right? They got still how many days from now is the trade deadline?
It's like a week and a half.
Yeah, what day?
March the 3rd is
21st.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Now, if
you have
they
some
make
time to
another
evaluate.
move, it's somebody off the roster for somebody in. It's just the circumstances of the cap, right?
Probably.
If
it's Luke
but not
Shen, I imagine.
necessarily.
If it's like a Luke Shen move, then I think it's probably a mid-range draft pick.
I just don't really think that moves the needle.
Okay, so what does? That's why I'm asking the question.
You got to if you're going to make a move, it should be for someone who kicks someone out of the lineup. The depth in getting like your 13th, 14th forward and your 7th, 8th defenseman. The great thing that we've seen this season, sort of a blessing in disguise with all the injuries. They have more than enough players. Like, think of all the guys who have been kicked out of the lineup.
Like Joey Anderson.
And Wayne Simmons and Pontus Holmberg. Like that's
Jordy Ben.
They have wild center depth. Jordy Ben,
Kyle Clifford before the season.
Victor Mete still on injured reserve. For God's sake, Mac Hollowell gave you quality games. So they have guys up the middle, guys on the wing, guys on D, guys on both sides on D, guys in net. I'm not worried about any of that. So if you're gonna make a deal, it should be to kick someone out of the lineup. And I'm kind of still looking at the left. And I think
on D?
No. Up front.
Forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if we're going to live our amazing fantasy dream of 3 centers, right, with Matthews, Tavares, O'Reilly, well, you got to take John Tavares off the wing. I do think it's hilarious that they finally found a left winger for John Tavares. John Tavares.
Yeah.
Who is going to play second wing on Tavares' line? Oh, I got it.
Tavares.
John Tavares.
He's the most responsible left winger in the history of the game.
Ever.
There were some great chances that line created, too.
Yeah.
Well,
If they'd
in their
finished on
first game against Montreal, when they weren't completely sucking wind, that line looked pretty good. And then I will say, so they were on for the Habs' first goal against, and I guess unsurprising, but I did not like how easy Josh Anderson was able to just go thank you and just brush TJ Brody aside. Like, I know people are gonna groan. They do need to be able to move the puck. This team is too easy to move.
What did you think of Jake McCabe's performance? He was being
the Chicago
physical
game?
and
He had a decent game on Sunday.
he should have been called for interference at least 5 times, but they were all on Michael Bunting,
Man.
so you're not going to get a call.
There were a couple horrific non-calls in that game, but again, I didn't want to get too worked up. I feel like from a storytelling perspective of that game, you can't be like, it's okay, and also, what the frig were those refs doing?
Mhm.
But like, dude,
Well, I know
they were
they're
miserable.
We
They
have
were
an item
terrible.
that we're going to get to, and that is Michael Bunting. But in the meantime, what I'm asking, what moves the needle, right?
Yeah, are you still on the go get Sam Lafferty and Jake McCabe train?
Well, I think the get both of them train has left the station.
Sure.
I don't think they're able to do that. I mean, can you imagine Dubas? We're talking about how cap strapped the team is. He goes out at the deadline and acquires 4 guys. I mean, it's possible.
Send guys out.
Yeah, you'd have to get McCabe half retained. You have no other choice. I mean, he does sort of fit what they need. They need to get bigger. Well, Steve, didn't you just say they shouldn't go out and get Luke Shen? I did say they should, but like again, it's your third pair guy.
Yeah.
Is
So-
it
so
possible?
I don't know what you do there.
But
Is it possible that they're the left wing they're looking for is
John Tavares, Austin
is-
Matthews.
the player that scored a winning goal for the University of Minnesota on Saturday night?
Matthew Nyes.
Matthew Nyes, who has 13 points in his last 10 and 8 in his last 5.
Maybe it's a message to Matthew Nyes. Like, if they don't go out and address that position, they're like, kid,
Please.
come to the show. Come to the show with open arms. We can give you an amazing opportunity. If they choose to go 1, 2, 3 up the middle, we're talking about making your NHL debut next to one of Austin Matthews, John Tavares, or Ryan O'Reilly.
It's
That's
such
absurd.
a big
Oh.
ask for somebody who's never played an NHL game.
Yeah, well, the other option is play on the 4th line with Noel Acciari and Alex Kerfoot.
Not the worst. Still not the worst.
Mhm.
Dude, like, you're good. And like, all of those lines would have babysitters. Like, I'm talking about defensively.
Right.
Like, David, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the 3rd line, right? Like, typically the shutdown line or the matchup line.
Yep.
It's Engvall, Kampf, and Yarncroke. That's not the plan.
That is not the plan.
I'm sorry, you don't go out and get Ryan O'Reilly and have that be your plan.
I think Zach Aston Reese. I think the idea is to, if I'm going to look at anybody who's going to fall off that, it's Zach Aston Reese.
Oh, but I want to see playoff Zach Aston Reese because
Well, you would see him in the playoffs. I just think Matt Nyes is going to push him out of the lineup to give him a shot. And I don't mean and I'm not saying
temporarily.
temporarily. I'm not sure that if you move O'Reilly down, Tavares over, and Engvall down or whatever, you can easily do that.
Do you hear the silly happy-go-lucky fantasy conversation we're having?
If I'm the dub daddy, Mr. Kyle Dubas, I don't bank on Matthews and Nyes coming in and being the solution. Like, I try and solve the problem myself before I have to rely on a guy who's never played in the NHL being a solution going into the playoffs. That's huge.
I mean, you
So-
could have him go kick the shit out of the AHL.
Yeah, I think he's 1 move, 2 moves maybe away
Yeah.
from being settled on this roster.
Now, some of you are going to say, well, what about just don't play him at all and have his entry-level contract roll to next year? It's different with guys like this. And I got to imagine there's some sort of agreement in place that has him playing professional hockey this year.